Imagine picking up your phone and logging into your banking app right now. Those numbers you see on the screen give you a sense of security, don't they? However, the bitter truth is this. Those numbers are not actually waiting for you inside a vault. This claim is neither a conspiracy theory nor an exaggeration. If every single person went to their bank tomorrow morning to withdraw their cash, we would all witness the global financial system collapse within hours. This situation does not stem from a software glitch. On the contrary, the global financial system was designed exactly this way, built upon a void. In economics, we call this arrangement fractional reserve banking. This system functions like a silent engine, fueling everything from inflation to the debt spiral. Once you truly understand how this engine works, you will realize that money itself consists of nothing more than promises that are impossible to keep. To grasp how this illusion of creating wealth out of nothing began, we must travel back to medieval Europe, a time when money was not digital code, but the physical weight of gold and silver. Back then, wealthy merchants knew how risky and exhausting it was to carry gold in heavy sacks. To solve this security problem, people began delivering their gold to the reliable vaults of goldsmiths. In exchange for the goldsmith would give the customer a piece of paper. This document was a simple contract stating, "The bearer of this paper can reclaim their gold." Before long, the public found it practical to use these slips of paper, and they began trading these lightweight receipts instead of carrying heavy gold. However, the real danger was born when goldsmiths realized a crucial fact. No one ever showed up at the door at the same time to demand their gold back. Seeing the gold just sitting idly in their vaults, the goldsmiths took an unethical step that started it all. Even though they only had 1,000 gold coins, they printed new receipts as if they had 2,000 and lent them out to others with interest. These men began acquiring real fortunes by selling gold that didn't actually exist. At that exact moment, money broke away from the physical world and transformed into a shared belief system. As time passed, not only goldsmiths, but also states began to utilize this profitable method. The Bank of England, founded in 1694, was not established to increase public welfare, but to finance the Crown's endless war debts. The bank lent money to the state that had no physical backing. In return for this imaginary debt, the state provided the taxes that future generations would pay as collateral. Does this sound familiar to you? This cycle remains valid today. Modern states borrow money that doesn't exist and force unborn generations to pay the heavy price of this debt through inflation. In the past, American banks did the same. They began by printing banknotes backed by gold, but eventually crossed all boundaries by printing unbacked currency. When people finally rushed to the banks to withdraw their money, bankers locked the doors and declared bankruptcy. Yet, instead of learning from these collapses and changing, the system became even more centralized through central banks. The system's founders succeeded in making everyone believe that money exists, rather than ensuring its physical presence. Let's examine this complex system through your own bank account. When you deposit $100 into the bank keeps only a tiny fraction of it, for example, $10, in its vault. It immediately lends the remaining $90 to someone else as a loan. When that $90 is spent and deposited into another bank, that bank also keeps $9 and distributes the rest as a loan. Eventually, your $100 circulates through the system to create a transaction volume as if it were $1,000. However, the only money that actually exists is that initial $10 you deposited. Everything else is merely a debt record. Today, this situation has reached an even more extreme point. Since March 2020, banks in America are no longer required to hold even a single dollar in reserve against deposits. Now, what limits the banks is not the cash they possess, but the rules set by a global body called Basel. The Basel Committee consists of central bankers who are not elected by the people and answer to no parliament. These bureaucrats decide how much risk banks can take. A bank no longer needs your deposits to lend money. When you take out a mortgage, the bank does not take cash out of its vault. It simply presses a few keys on a computer screen and creates new money for you. The moment you sign that paper promising to pay the debt back, that money is born out of thin air. Consequently, more than 90% of the money in the world today was not printed by governments. It was created by banks through your debt. The darkest truth of this system is this: because money is created through debt, there's always a mountain of debt in the system that is mathematically impossible to repay. Interest guarantees this mathematical dead end. Someone must go bankrupt. Someone must lose everything. We watch the same scenario play out in the 1929 crash and the 2008 economic collapse. After every crisis, the defenders of the system arrive to maintain the illusion in the name of saving the order. Leading a debt-free life is actually contrary to the operation of this machine. If everyone in the world paid off their debts today, the economy would come to a complete standstill and the very concept of money would vanish, because you are the fuel required to keep this massive financial machine running. Never forget these three fundamental lessons. Money is not wealth in itself. It is merely an illusion of exchange. Debt is not as innocent as it seems. It mortgages your future freedom starting today. Inflation is not a natural phenomenon. It is a conscious choice made to silently seize your labor. Real wealth lies in the land you stand on, the knowledge you possess, and your ability to stand on your own 2 feet. If you do not rebuild your relationship with money through this awareness, the house will always win in this giant casino. This is not a horror story. It is the greatest wake-up call history has ever whispered to us. For on the day public trust is shaken, this empire of paper will crumble to the ground.